Imagine serving a country that often refused to serve you back. After World War I, thousands of African American soldiers returned home, expecting respect, only to face the same walls of segregation and discrimination. Yet they didn't stop fighting. From the dusty barracks of the 1920s to the frozen mountains of Korea, their courage reshaped America's military history. This is more than just war records, it's a story of resilience, dignity, and sacrifice. Today, we uncover the hidden files and forgotten voices that paved the way for change. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will move you, if history matters to you. If stories of courage inspire you, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss powerful lessons like this. And don't forget to like and share this video to honor those who fought for freedom both abroad and at home. When we talk about the history of African Americans in the military, most people think of the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II or the civil rights movement of the 1960s, but the real transformation began much earlier, right after World War I. This period, from the end of the Great War through the Korean War, was one of the most challenging yet pivotal times for African American soldiers. Why? Because these decades carried two burdens: the dream of equality after serving honorably overseas, and the crushing reality of segregation in uniform and in civilian life. Military records from this era are more than paper. They are testimonies of struggle and triumph. They tell us how men and women, despite overwhelming odds, stood tall. Today we'll walk through the records, the reforms, the pain, and the progress, because understanding this history is not just about the past. It's about dignity, justice, and hope for future generations. When World War I ended in 1918, nearly 370,000 African Americans had served in the U.S. Army. Many fought bravely on the front lines in Europe, particularly in France. Some units, like the Harlem Hellfighters, earned legendary status. They returned home wearing medals, yet they were denied the simplest of rights. Instead of parades and respect, many black veterans faced hostility and violence. The Red Summer of 1919 saw racial riots erupt across America. In uniform, they were heroes. At home, they were targets. That contradiction is one of the hardest truths in American history. The U.S. military kept detailed files on African American troops after WWII. These records include personnel file, listing service histories, enlistment papers, and awards. There were also court-martial records, many involving racial bias, and War Department reports highlighting so-called problems of race in the military. Researchers today use these files to uncover how systemic racism shaped military policy. They show us the struggle African Americans faced, not just in combat, but in every barracks, every promotion list, every duty assignment. The 1930s were quiet compared to the roaring battles of the World Wars, but for African Americans in uniform, the fight for dignity continued. Opportunities were scarce. Promotions? Almost impossible. Combat roles limited. Most black soldiers were restricted to menial labor units, digging trenches, cooking, cleaning, while their white counterparts held leadership positions. Still, seeds of progress were being planted. The Great Depression hit everyone hard, but the Civilian Conservation Corps and other New Deal programs allowed some African Americans to serve in quasi-military roles. These experiences laid the foundation for future integration. Military records from this time reveal countless stories of men who enlisted hoping for advancement, only to hit a wall of segregation. Yet many stayed. Why? Because service was more than a paycheck. It was pride, purpose, and a silent protest against the lie of inequality. When Pearl Harbor was attacked in 1941, the U.S. needed manpower fast. More than 1.2 million African Americans served during World War II, and this time the fight wasn't just against fascism abroad. It was against Jim Crow at home. The Tuskegee Airmen became the first black fighter pilots, proving excellence in the skies. The Montford Point Marines broke barriers in the Marine Corps. The 761st Tank Battalion, known as the Black Panthers, fought bravely in Europe. Military records from WWII show both heroism and humiliation. While these men earned medals, they were often denied basic facilities. Some were lynched while wearing the U.S. uniform. The contradiction was heartbreaking. Yet their service ignited the WWII campaign, victory against enemies abroad and racism at home. After WWII, Returning African American veterans demanded change. They had fought dictators overseas. Why should they tolerate discrimination in the land of liberty? Their voices grew louder, joined by civil rights activists and organizations like the NAACP. In 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed Executive Order 9981, mandating the desegregation of the U.S. Armed Forces. This was monumental. For the first time, the law recognized that equality in service was non-negotiable. Military agency records from this period detail the struggles of implementing this order, resistance, slow progress, and eventual compliance. These documents are crucial to understanding how integration in the military set the stage for the broader civil rights movement. When the Korean War broke out, integration was still new. On paper, the military was desegregated. In reality, change takes time. Some units were integrated successfully, while others clung to old patterns. Still, for the first time in history, African American soldiers fought side by side with white soldiers in significant numbers. Records from the Korean War era show a gradual shift toward equality. Reports note improvements in morale and effectiveness when segregation barriers fell. The sacrifices of black soldiers in Korea solidified their role as full participants in America's defense. You might wonder, why dig up old files? Because these records are not just ink on paper. They're voices of men and women who endured injustice but never stopped serving. They remind us of the price of freedom, not just in battle, but in the fight for equality. Historians, genealogists, and families use these records to trace lineage, honor ancestors, and teach future generations. They help us understand that progress was not a gift. It was earned, often in silence, often in pain. From the muddy trenches of 1918 to the frozen hills of Korea, African American service members fought two wars, one against foreign enemies and another against racism at home. Their courage reshaped America, and today their records, once locked in dusty cabinets, speak louder than ever. If you have a family member who served, seek out these archives, share their story, because history only lives when we tell it, and these heroes deserve to live forever.